Back with you again. I realized that I just did a video on that faith-related stuff, and I like to space those out, give you a different kind of things, talking about the economy, history, etc. But these things are. I just came across this, and it's about your faith is about your worldview, okay, and it affects everything you do. If it doesn't matter. You can claim to believe something and actually your actions express what your real worldview is, regardless of what you claim to believe. Anyway, so I've attempted to make a point in some of my previous videos to that I found that most people claim to believe things that they largely are ignorant about. Okay, uh, they people often focus on maybe one or two tenets of their particular denomination, uh, whatever those claims might be. And once saved, always saved is one that growing up, but it was a family issue between members of my family and their various denominations. But they focus talk about that all the time, and they go merrily along with no real solid consideration of other issues or other facts, other items of contention. They don't even realize You don't realize it's an item of contention because it's never brought up to you. And this, I think, for one thing, is on purpose. Some things are difficult to explain. Other things, the people who should be your teacher should be knowledgeable about, but they're not, so they can't talk to you about it. They just don't have the right background, right resources. Maybe they just don't have the time and energy to go into the research they need to be able to talk to you about it. But so and if you've, it probably doesn't matter what organization you go to. Whoever is speaking, after a while, you're not hearing much of any other message but a particular message. You finally realize this is their theme, and they talk about it all the time. Uh, you know, I oh, forget about that. I was going to go off on a tangent, so I'll stop. Now I think this is one. I have a video down below that I think is worth looking at, and whether you're a Christian or Roman Catholic, or if you're Muslim, or even if you're some other faith, this can challenge you, because it challenge you to really delve into your holy writings. So your holy writings are the things that and there's piles of people in the United States who are armchair Buddhists or Hindus, right? I mean, they have this Eastern thought, but it's not truly Buddhist or Hindu if they really got into the uh, belly of the belief, right? So, but they play this Eastern thought kind of thing. Uh, that's your prerogative if you do that. I mean, you go to yoga classes and you get into chakra and all that other kind of stuff. So now, I didn't grow up a Roman Catholic, but my denomination inherited a lot of the Roman Catholic traditions, and even though it also it's a Protestant denomination, that was obviously the Protestants rebelled against all these traditions that kept getting laid on to the added to, on top of, and sometimes claimed to be superior to the biblical faith, because the Roman Catholic Church had popes who were able to make decrees, etc., and claims, and of course your priest is a particular thing, and you're worshiping the saints and all these other kind of things that Protestants don't do. But so I'm not offended by this video at all. If you're Catholic, you might find some offense, but at the same time, possibly you'll find something to think about. And so hopefully you'll take a look at it, even if you're Catholic. But if you're not Catholic and you just want to sort of get into the minds of Catholics, get behind the cobwebs, things that I'm sure most Catholics don't think too much about, other than maybe, if you're a traditional kind of personality, or what I call a parochial personality, one who just is sort of has your little world and you're stuck in it. And that can be true of anybody, of any thought, in any line of thought, even not about Catholics or Christians or Muslims or what. It's just anyone can be parochial. Uh, you know, you can find this is interesting. Anyway, what Spencer Smith gets into is he argues that this uh, uh, particular video below is he's talking about the Catholics praying to the Virgin Mary. And he makes the arguments, and I'm not going to get into the detail of it. You need to listen to him make these various points. He makes multiple points, and he is not he is an independent Baptist, which he doesn't even believe. Like if you know a Baptist, you probably don't know an independent Baptist. Most of us know like Southern Baptist or whatnot. Well, he's even different than that. But he's just bases his faith on the Bible, period, and doesn't have much to do with creeds and that other kind of stuff. So he's always looking at the Bible and saying, well, what does the Bible say? What is this issue in life in the world around us talking about, etc. So he's talking about the praying to the Virgin Mary. And one of the points he makes, in his opinion, and I appreciate what he's saying. He says this diminishes the character of God because, and it's really interesting. He shows a video by a Catholic priest, which I think makes a silly argument. So you have to look at that as almost comical. Uh, uh, but for most people, we're praying directly to God. That's what we're taught. You read the Lord's Prayer. Well, I'm doing the Lord's Prayer, man. I'm not praying to Mary or a saint or anybody else. I'm going to straight to God. And we know that Jesus is our intercessor. If you read the New Testament, it's talked about all the time. Spencer will point out those locations to you, I'm sure. That you can get something from that. But clearly, if you're from the Protestant tradition, you're not having no interest in praying to a Mary or whatnot. But he makes that point, and I agree with that, because God's omnipotent, God's omniscient. There's no limit to God as we believe in the Christian faith. So what are we needing to pray to this intercessor who's going to get the attention of God and say, hey, by the way, God, Creator, you're not hearing this prayer. Come over here and listen to this prayer over here. That's the point that he's making. So God needs Mary to help him out there, and then at the same time, think about this: what were the Jews praying to? The Israelites praying to? They didn't have this intercessor of Mary to help them out. Also, he points out that this could be seen as a form of necromancy, and this is an issue that many people, we have necromancy going on all the time on the TV shows. A lot of your mystery kind of shows, detective kind of shows, I've seen have seances and things like that, where people talking to the dead and things like that. That's necromancy. And from a biblical point of view, the danger of necromancy is that if these are not dead people, they're not the people you think you're talking to. They're actually demons pretending to be those people. Okay, so you would need to stay away from praying to your father, because you're probably not praying. You're not. In fact, I assume we can't talk to our parents or our uncles or anything. That might offend you. Maybe you enjoy talking to your. Now, I think it's quite a different thing to go out to the wife of your, the grave of your wife or your child or whatnot, and speak to them. It's sort of a psychological practice, but you don't really believe that they necessarily hear you. I mean, when you get down right to it, you're comforting yourself. You're having an imaginary conversation. And a lot of us might do something like that over all kind of issues. We talk to all kind of people in our heads. So your boss does something to you, and you're offended, and so in your head you're going through a conversation about you're telling him off in your head, or trying to explain yourself in your head, So anyway, and then he, as I said, he talks about multiple things, and he brings up the issue of the idea of the Virgin Mary being. If you go back into history, you go back to the Bible, you run into the character of Nimrod. Nimrod, if you go back into Assyrian, Babylonian, I can't remember which one, their own history, you see there the stories of Nimrod marrying Semiramis, who was a prostitute, and he dies, and then she claims to be pregnant with his son, or an immaculate conception, and then the son is born. This is Tammuz, and he is. There's this Trinity kind of idea. Nimrod has gone up, ascended to become a god. Semiramis has the son of the god, who in himself is the incarnation of the god, and so they're all gods. They all go down as gods. And now, if you look up Semiramis, you're going to find her in all kind of places in all kind of ways, because all of these are called. You go back into the history of humanity, and these are groups of people moving around all over the place, changing their languages, and we can look at linguists can look at languages and say this is where a language came from. We look at just the changes as they go along, and they can a linguist who studies these things, they can see where one language is taken on by or modified a little bit and becomes another language as these groups of people move around the Middle East, the world, all over the world, frankly. And that's why, our language in Europe is related to India, right? And that's nothing new. We've been talking about that for many, many decades. So how can that be that we have an Indian language in Europe, right? So this is an odd concept. So you'll find that these names changes, or the gods themselves, they morph and things like that. All the gods of the Greeks, the Romans, the Egyptians, they're all basically the same gods. They get their names changed. They sometimes have different legends put on top of them and things. So, and this Nimrod, Semiramis, Tammuz legend may actually be pulled from other Akkadian gods, etc. See, but anyway, at some point, this is the story, and so when you're reading the Bible, you find Nimrod mentioned in Genesis 10, 8 to 12, and you find a reference to women crying to Tammuz in Ezekiel 8:14. So these are things that are part of the world of the biblical world that the Israelites, the various tribes of Israel, were facing and dealing with. And that's really what the whole Bible is about, particularly the Old Testament, is dealing with these other claims and these other cultures. And so what Spencer Smith claims in what he's saying, I think he makes a logical argument, is that, what you have is a tradition that all these other traditions from around the Roman Empire, once Christianity became the official religion of the Roman Empire, then they started trying to, the peoples who were in the religion business started laying these other viewpoints on top of Christianity. So, and I remember many times with different kind of circumstances hearing about, let's see, the Easter bunny came from XYZ, or the Christmas tree came from QRT, or wherever what the church did. The church, and at this time it's the the Roman Catholic Church is the church that they're talking about. As the empire expanded, it would take on holidays of other pagan religions, And the whole point of doing this, as it was claimed, and maybe it was considered this by some, as it was claimed, is that let's see, these Germans have a Yule festival. Well, we're going to take that Yule festival and we're going to make that Christmas, right? So these are the kind of things that happen. Now, what happens when a person who is a worshiper of Yule gods say, "Okay, we'll take on. You've just conquered us. We'll take on your religion." He doesn't throw out his Yule gods, and if he doesn't throw it out and he teaches it to his children while they're going to church, you can see where you can have this bastardization of religion, of faith, as these people continue to go through history and they take on these various ideas into the church that really aren't Christian biblical ideas. And that's why it's important to really know what's in the Bible instead of what's being preached from the pulpit or what's being practiced by your church. There's traditions that really are not biblical traditions. And all of these traditions, you have to remember, what did Jesus preach about more than probably other than money? Obviously, you've heard people say he taught about money more than anything else. But the people he was blasting, when he was blasting somebody, was more than not about their traditions and how their traditions had perverted their walk with God. So it's important to be able to see where our traditions come from so that we can have a better walk with God. And if you aren't a Christian, it's just as important for you to understand this, because maybe I'm totally wrong, right? If you're a Muslim or a Hindu, maybe I'm wrong, but you need to know what your traditions say and understand where your traditions come from so that you understand why people are, why your mom and daddy taught you what they taught you. Because you might come to some different conclusion about that. Anyway, please take a look at Spencer Smith. Like, share, do share. If this is worth anything, you've watched me this long. If this is worth watching me this long, share it with other people so that I can be assured. And if you don't think it's worth anything, type in the thing and say, this is worth nothing. And maybe I'll get the message after a while and stop bothering people with this. Okay. Anyway, like, share, and look for my other video, which will probably be up here. I'll share something up there for you. Okay? Have a good day.